surprise, surprise, it's mushroom season, and we all love the porcinis and the morels and the chanterelles. But have you tried the polypore mushroom lately? They're mushrooms that basically break down dead wood in the forest, be it a fallen tree or an old stump, doesn't matter. Usually they're the cleaners of the forest. And in today's video, I want to introduce you to one of these mushrooms, namely the chicken of the woods mushroom, or at least that's the name that most people know it by. It's a fleshy, large producing mushroom that can be found from April up until December. So the foraging window is very decent. Before we continue, I want you to educate yourself, to learn your land, and to forage wisely. You know, some mushrooms, just like anything in life, some of them are going to feed you, some of them are going to make you feel very sick, and some of them are going to take you all the way to the center of the universe and show you machine elves or some stuff like that. So educate yourself before you forage anything, not just mushrooms. But with that being said, today we're making chicken of the woods stew. So let's begin. Now this is going to be a bit of a niche recipe because compared to the other mushrooms that are readily available in stores or farmers market, the chicken of the woods I personally have never seen on display for sale. So the only way that I know how to procure this mushroom is to actually forage for it. Again, it grows from April up until December. I find this beautiful mushroom at a walking distance from the garden. Literally all the stumps and all the dead trees around the garden have this chicken of the woods mushroom. But any deciduous tree forest will definitely have this mushroom growing in it. So next time you go on your mushroom trip for porcinis and chanterelles, keep an eye out, educate yourself, and if you spot this beautiful mushroom that grows in huge clusters, you may come home with about 10 kilos worth of amazing food that you can store for winter. Personally, I harvest 3 clusters per year. The smallest usually is about 5 kilos and the largest is usually 10 kilos or in between, like 7. And with 3 harvests, I have enough to eat and enjoy throughout the whole year and enough to put away in the freezer for winter, which I personally pack in 1 kilo bags, and that feeds my family in one go, in one recipe, fully. After I harvest the mushroom, I usually clean it by washing it and hand picking all the blades of grass and all the dead leaves that may be stored in between the shelves. And after that, I portion it personally in 1 kilo bags, but you may want to go with half a kilo because they're very voluminous, and depending on how much storage space you have in your freezer, you know, you do you. But just so you know, freezing them is the best way that I personally found how to store them for long-term use. Now when you clean them, please be mindful because every gram matters. The tips of each clam, the tips of each shelf are going to be the softest and the most tender parts. They're going to be akin to chicken breast. In many ways, that's why it's called the chicken of the woods, because if you harvest it at the right time, it will magically replace, both in flavor, consistency, and aroma, chicken breast meat. But the points where it connects to the stump, to the tree, where I call the root stalks, they can be a bit woody and chewy. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to throw that away. We remove the tender parts and we pack them separately as meat replacements, while the stalks or the root stalks I personally pack separately and I keep them for burger meat replacement. So when I want to make some burgers in the winter or summer, doesn't matter, I take out from the freezer those root stalks, I put them through the food processor to basically mince it, mix it with all spices and all of that, and I make myself patties, meat patties. And they taste amazing, just like making a replacement burger meat. I don't know, you have to try it to believe me. It's amazing, and and that's it. Nothing else I can say apart from amazing. Know your land, learn what grows and is edible in your neck of the woods, and forage mindfully all year round. While on the topic of ingredients, apart from the onion itself, you will need onions, oil, and salt and pepper to season with. Okay, enough with the mushroom fanboy part. Let's get straight away into the recipe, because probably you're hungry by now and you don't want to hear anything more about polypore mushrooms and chicken of the woods. So, take the mushroom and slice it into thin strips, just like you would slice a chicken breast. And I mentioned medium-sized strips, but you can dice it, you can go with whatever consistency you prefer personally. And after you're done with the mushroom, you want to slice or dice the onion, whichever way you prefer. After you gathered all of your ingredients and you prepared them, grab yourself a large pot and put it on medium fire or medium heat. Add the oil to the pot and let it heat up properly, because we want to fry the mushroom first before we continue with the stew making process. Frying the mushroom is going to caramelize the flesh of the mushroom and is going to develop some really nice and delicious flavors. A key point here is to not cover the mushrooms with a lid. We want the moisture and the steam to escape and actually fry the mushroom and not steam it. At the same time, we don't want to stir the pot too often. I would say every 5 minutes go and stir it so it doesn't stick. But at the same time, if you stir it too often, it's not going to allow the onion to fry and caramelize the parts of the mushroom that are submerged in oil. When you're happy with this stage of the process and as much of the mushrooms have fried and caramelized, add the onion, and we're going to cook the onion by the same rules as the mushroom. We're not going to cover them with the lid, and we're going to mix every 5 minutes to allow the onions as well to brown up and soften up and caramelize to develop its own delicious flavors and properties. When the onions have browned up, we can cover the pot with the lid. Finally, we can cover the pot with the lid, and we want to let it simmer for 14 minutes at low heat, making sure that every 10 minutes with a wooden spoon we go and we stir the pot a bit to make sure that it's not gonna stick on the bottom of the pot. So no more than every 10 minutes, because otherwise it's gonna start breaking down, and instead of having a nice, beautiful, delicious stew, you're gonna have a mess. There's nothing else I can say than a mess. Being light summer or autumn stew, I enjoy it with a tomato salad or a leafy green salad. And I make the distinction of light summer stew because compared to that, a winter heavy stew would be more meat-based, chunky, smoked, cured meat with a lot of spices and carrots and parsnip, and most likely potatoes as well. So a lot of fat, a lot of flavor, a lot of spice. And that stew would go well with something that would cut through all of that heaviness, like a brine pickle, a dill pickle, or a vinegar pickle, no matter what vegetable you use in that pickle. I am not telling you how to eat this. I am just sharing with you my own preferences and how I've ended up enjoying this dish after eating it for basically all my life. Speaking of preferences, my favorite way to enjoy this dish is with the creamy mashed potatoes. Mushrooms are a great alternative to meat and have positive and beneficial properties that we have just scratched the surface in discovering. I hope this video brought some extra knowledge about the world of mushroom, brought some curiosity about all the options that we have out there that we're not aware of. And if you did enjoy the video, like and share it with others, and I will see you next time.